On this episode, I attempt to interview four guys or an entire band at once. My guests are Brett, Drew, Jay, and Ritchie. Collectively, they combine their powers to become Nolo. The origin story of these individuals is one of unique but serendipitous beginnings. They all met during rehab, all searching for something to fill the void that drugs once failed to do. What they discovered separately, yet together, is the profound bond of human connection, particularly through music, an experience far greater than any drug. We also talk about the reasons for addiction, why I should like Radiohead, and Drew's nose. Let's jump in.
Hey everybody, welcome to a Moderately podcast. Obviously, we are not in the garage. We are at Orb Studios, located outside of Austin, Texas. And I usually do shout outs, but we're only gonna do one shout out today. And that shout out is to Joe Andrade Media, because he's the guy doing all this. And so I guess today we can call this a moderately excellent podcast because the video is gonna be way better. Anyways, so I am here with my new friends, Nolo. And guys, so this is a test we already when we came in. Brett, guitar. Yep. Jay, drums. Drew, guitar.
That's right.
Ritchie, bass.
Oh, dude.
Thank you. Anyways, but each guy, I want y'all to introduce yourself. You can start with whoever, any kind of social medias, anything you want to shout out besides the band, website, Instagram, all that stuff, whoever wants to take care of that.
Sure.
Ritchie, you want to start?
Yes. So my name's Ritchie. I play bass in Nolo, and I guess I would just shout out our oh my God, I'm blanking. Instagram, yeah. Our Instagram, Facebook, website, at Nolo the band. Yeah.
On all
Is that okay?
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
That was all right.
It was okay.
Do you have any personal stuff you want to shout out?
My personal Instagram is at _Ritchie, RITCHIE _Wall, WALL.
Was there already a Ritchie Wall?
There was.
Was there already a Ritchie _Wall?
There was.
So you had to lead with the underscore.
I had to lead with the underscore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was weird. So
at least you didn't have to do like 2 underscores, Ritchie _.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. I was also debating like using numbers. I went with underscores at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drew?
My name is Drew. I hit my nose.
Oh, we're talking about that now.
I just wanted to make sure that came out right out of the gate. You forgot to mention that we also have a TikTok at Nolo the band. Yeah, the TikTok's a little crazy. Personal Instagram is at dvena19 because my favorite hockey player, Joe Sakic, wore a 19.
Very interesting.
We'll get back. Don't worry. We'll get back to the nose.
I am Jay, and what are we doing?
What instrument you play?
Oh, I play the drums.
Right. And then any personal like shout outs you want to do?
I guess, are we doing our personal Instagrams?
That's what I did.
All right. I think mine is Jay Amato, and it's Amato, not Otama, because everyone thinks my last name is Otama.
We want to get that straight right now.
Yeah.
How do you spell that, Jay?
Which one?
Your last name.
Amato.
Okay.
And yeah, that's me.
Tomato, amato. My name's Brett. I play guitar and vocals. All three of us do vocals, not Jay. He has in the past, but
How come you're not? They don't let you do vocals?
it's just with the drums, it's tough.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
We want to avoid like a Don Henley type situation, So, there. I forgot about the accident. My Instagram is Brett Myers Music, BRETTMAYERS Music, I think. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do you want to shout out 7-Eleven?
What?
You know.
No, I don't.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm good on that.
What about maybe CHC and Drill?
Oh, CHC Guitars. I would love to shout out CHC Guitars. Our man Chris whipping us up some custom axes as we speak. So big shout out to CHC.
Very cool. All right, so obviously I want to get into y'all guys in the band and the whole thing, but I mean, it feels like if I don't start with Drew's nose, that like everybody's gonna be upset. So Drew, so what happened to your nose?
I was recently on vacation at my parents' home. They have very nice hardwood floors. However, when you're in socks, they are slippery. And it was nighttime, and I was rushing my way off to my bed, and I slipped and I face planted into the wall, the corner of it, and hit the bridge of my nose.
Did you see the wall?
Yeah, it's not like I like walked into it. I fell into it.
Okay.
And I caught with my right hand, but since it was the corner, my left hand just grabbed air.
Oh man.
Why is it that every time we do a podcast, there's some fucking problem?
I don't know, dude. My life is not going as planned. Just turned 30.
All right, so
Did you turn 30?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Holy shit.
okay, I mean, perfect segue, right? Your life has to be going somewhat better than it was before, because the story is, did y'all guys all meet in rehabilitation? Is that how y'all? Is it? You explain it to me.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we all came down in 2017 to a treatment center called Recovery Unplugged.
Y'all all started at the same time.
Jay, when did you go through?
July of 2017.
Ritchie?
I got to treatment in the fall of 2017, November, yeah.
Brett.
October 2017.
And I got there late September 2017.
We all.
So Jay, you were the first one
I
there.
was the first. Yep.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say we all ended up in intensive outpatient care together.
So what does that mean?
So that's where you're basically like, in our case, we were in a sober living at that point, and you're kind of doing your own thing. You have a job. You're free to basically live your life within the means of the sober living, but you're still going to programming at a rehabilitation facility. In our case, it was 3 times a week. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's where we kind of all were in that phase together.
So y'all had already gone through the intensive part of your rehab,
Yeah.
and then you're like in the kind of the test phase of like, okay, can I handle it outside of
We're
this closed off rehab, right?
Right.
reacclimating back to like.
Right.
Yeah,
our lives.
me and Ritchie were actually in like inpatient treatment together.
So y'all knew each other kind of first before these guys and put this was all together.
Sort of, yeah. I think I met Drew first actually, but yeah.
And so, where did okay? So was everyone a musician before before?
Yeah.
Okay, so so you're there, and then who's the first person you meet out of this group?
Drew,
Drew.
I think. Yeah.
Okay. go ahead.
We met in. It's funny because me and Drew, within 1 second of meeting each other, we're just immediately like, we're friends.
Yeah.
Like it just happened that quick.
We
I
like
for-
the same type of music and everything. So.
Yeah. He said a joke, and then I was like, I literally think I was just like, you're fucking awesome, dude.
we just become best friends.
And then,
karate in the garage.
and then we just, yeah.
Was there
never stopped being
any level of bonding over music like immediately?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly, yes, there was. And I feel like since I came through a little earlier, I was playing music with some other guys who I'm still friends with, and they're awesome. But I remember seeing Drew, Brett, and Rich like doing their thing and playing because they were the band before me. I wasn't in there yet. They were already doing music together, and I was like, I really want to play music with those guys, but it didn't happen right away. So I had to kind of be patient for a little while.
So y'all were playing without a drummer?
No, Ritchie played drums.
Okay.
And then we had 2 guitars.
I was running a octave fuzz pedal, so it'd be like the band Local H does that. So it sounded cool to me, but
Okay.
not as good as with him.
Okay. So how does he become the drummer?
Who wants to tell the tale?
I'll tell the tale.
Brett tells this tale.
What the hell? I'll tell the tale. So there was our friend did like a house party thing. We're like 3 months sober, give or take at this point. Jay probably a little more, Drew a little more.
What? Okay, so you're gonna do a house party?
So our friend threw a house party with like live music.
Okay, what is it? A sober house party?
No.
Okay,
Yeah, that's actually plays into the story a little
Great,
bit
go ahead.
too. So we get there. Jay's band at the time played right before we did, and I remember standing there with Ritchie and Drew. We were watching Jay play drums, and I was just like, "We need this guy to be our drummer." And yeah, and then we played and all that, and then just to throw a little extra into the story, we were sober the whole time. Everybody there was just getting fucked up, and everybody's offering us drinks and cocaine and whatnot.
That guy was so funny.
Yeah. And but it was cool. It was a step in the right direction for us to go and have a very clear intention of what we were doing somewhere and not get fucked up about it. But so Jay's band breaks up like the next day. Like literally, I think it was the next day.
As fate would have it.
And then we were just
were
like,
you sober at that time?
Oh yeah.
Was your bandmate sober?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were sober as well.
yeah. And then that was
I was just wondering, was there some like why did y'all break up the next day?
God damn, I don't even remember. I think
do.
Do you want to tell the tale? No, I think the lead singer of the band was just, we were like, he wanted to do something, and then me and my friend were just like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. Like we just didn't agree.
Did you already have your eyes on these guys of wanting to like be part of what they were doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's
you're
what
like
it was.
you're like the hot girl at the party.
yeah.
Oh,
dude.
you guys were definitely the hot girl at the party.
Thank you.
We were we
So
all.
were you though?
Thank you,
Because we had our eyes on you too.
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
But were we all hanging out at that point?
I mean, I think what I remember is like,
Were we friends yet?
I was friends with you. I would give you rides back to your sober house when you listened to Streetlight Manifesto.
That's right.
You asked me to
Definitely
jam one
friends,
time.
by the way. That's a definitely friends situation.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Jay asked me to jam one time and we never did.
It's not true. You're just trying to spin this around on me.
What are you talking?
No, but I feel like that was the awesome thing. Was the music was awesome, you know, getting to be a part of this, but the bigger thing was hanging out with these guys and feeling like laughing and being ridiculous and stupid. And it was like 6 months of being sober where I was kind of like searching for that, kind of just in limbo. And then when I met these guys, like I was like, all right, this is kind of where I belong, you know?
Is there any part of like when you're going through that rehab part? I'm assuming they're preaching like, you know, to like be present and aware and opportunities and, you know, things will come to you and stuff like that. Were you looking for something like that? And then this kind of was that? Or for all of you? It's a question for any of y'all, really.
For me, like 100%. That is exactly what it was. And it was frustrating because it took a little while, you know? Like I said, it took like 6 months where I had friends, but that feeling of like when you connect with people and you know it's like y'all are connecting on a deeper level or just it's a, you know, something special like that I did not have. And meeting these guys, like that's when that happened.
Let me ask you this: whenever you're making yourself better, I'm sure y'all lost friends, right? You've lost people out of your life because you were taking a different path,
Yeah.
right? If anybody could like speak to how hard that is, because you know these are people you're like, man, these are my friends, and like I'm kind of like, well, we just really can't be friends anymore, and what it means to replace it with guys like this. That really you have a really a true valuable friendship with instead of this kind of false one because those people fell off in that way, you know?
Yeah.
There's like a lot that comes up for me with a question like that. I guess first of all, like for me, before I moved down to Austin, I'm originally from just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Um, but prior to coming down here to get help, I was pretty much in like a completely isolated existence. So
Meaning what?
I was literally just like pacing around an apartment that I was renting at the time.
You're not sober at this time?
So something, no, I guess I wasn't. But I wasn't using my drug of choice at the time. I was on the like I was just smoking weed all the time. Um, I'm an alcoholic. So I wasn't drinking at the time. Because I knew that anytime I'd pick up a drink, it would just land me back in a detox or rehab. So I was like denying myself using alcohol, but I was just in this apartment smoking weed. But I didn't want to have anything to do with any type of like recovery community or anything to do with people like this.
How come? I think it's so important to talk about, like, because I think a lot of
Yeah,
people feel that way, right?
yeah. Um, I guess the first couple times I went to rehab, I'd work with a therapist. I would do like, in AA, there's something called a fourth step where you look through all your shit and uh, kind of work through certain resentments or feelings you have about the past. And I'd done all that work in rehab and I'd gotten out and I was just very stubborn. Like I guess part of it was an ego thing. Like I didn't want to say that like I needed help or I think the other piece of it too at the time, I just in my head I thought like this idea of recovery was super lame.
Yeah.
I was just like there's no way I can have fun without getting fucked up, you know? Um so, I was just like really, really stubborn. And, but what ended up happening for me is I started shutting out all these people that I had like met in rehabs or in recovery communities. And I just slowly shut them out. And then my old friend groups, they started just cutting me off completely because I was just not in a good place in so many different ways. And I was, excuse me. I got a little frog in my throat there. Um, but I was just doing some shit too to like, in my relationships, I just wasn't showing up like a good friend at all. I was making shitty decisions and just acting like an asshole. And so very slowly, like my world kind of just slowly shrunk. And I found myself in this apartment in Cleveland, Ohio, not really wanting to get help, but also like the most miserable I've ever been. Um, anyway, that ended up prompting me to get help in like a moment of like honestly desperation. I was just like, I need to go get help somewhere because my mental health is so bad. I'm completely isolated. Like this isn't a life, that I'm living. Um, anyway, I that's kind of rambling
No, you're good.
about something different a little bit, but you know, to your other question about you know, connection. Yeah, I mean, these guys are they're my family today. They're my brothers. And I feel like super fortunate to get to do life with them, recovery with them, to make music with them. Um, yeah, I don't know where I'd be without these guys today. So,
It's very kind.
Was there a lot of were you doing a lot of self-sabotage? Like in those times where you just like kind of didn't want to get help and like you cut these people off? Did it feel like self-sabotage, or do you think you just weren't ready, or what?
I think for me, more of it was like this obsession with wanting to figure out a way to like use normally. Like there was a period of time where I guess so much of my identity had gotten wrapped up in like, I don't know, the party scene or like, there was a period of time in the like 2010, 2011 where I was listening to a lot of EDM music and going to raves and doing a lot of ecstasy. And that, there was this one like warehouse rave I went to with with some friends that I'd made at the time. And like, we're all like running around in our underwear and just, geeking out on MDMA. But but yeah, that became like my identity, I was like, I desperately wanted to hold on to that. What are you laughing about? Tell me what you're laughing about.
Well, it's just that you said you were running around in your underwear, and then you said that's my identity.
It is, and actually that's still my
It's
identity
Captain
today.
Underpants.
That is.
Because I just thought I was Captain Underpants the whole time.
I had a pacifier in my mouth, a diaper on. But
That's like the Sunny episode where Dennis does that.
yeah, that was me. But no, that like literally, I don't know. For me at that point in my life, I held on to that like really tightly. Like I wanted to be able to keep doing that. And so for me, it was like this obsession with wanting to figure out a way to use and drink normally. And I did that for years, trying to figure that out, and it never worked. Every time I tried some new method of using or drinking normally, it just landed me back in a hospital, in a detox, at a rehab center. And so before I moved down here, I was just beat, like I had finally come to this place of like, I can't figure out how to do this normally anymore. Like it's just not working.
Is that a fight with your ego? Like like it's the battle of you and your ego, of what what I should be able to do, what I think I could do. That guy's like, I can
Yeah,
handle this, and then like you just really can't.
absolutely. That's definitely a part of it. And then I mean, honestly too, I mean, I just, at that point in my life, I loved the feeling of being fucked up. I just sincerely loved that feeling. And, if I'm just being honest, but yeah, so it was ego and just a love for drugs and alcohol because I honestly just have never really felt that comfortable with myself, and I always felt more comfortable under the influence.
Did these guys make you feel comfortable?
No. Not at all. No, no, absolutely they do. I think that was like the game changer for me when I got to rehab. I met Brett in a process group, and we immediately connected over like some shared shit. And then meeting Drew and Jay later on, yeah, like I mean, it's cool because I feel like the four of us can be in a room together at this point, and we could literally just be sitting there silent or being complete idiots, and it's just comfortable, and I feel like I can be myself. And that was something that had like eluded me for so long.
Well,
Like just
it was why you were doing all the things you were doing, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a total sidebar, but
Yeah.
is everybody okay? How would you describe or categorize, or what kind of music would you say y'all play?
Um,
And it can be a short answer because I'm going somewhere else. But like, just
Okay.
how would you categorize it?
like just to be brief about it,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess rock music,
Okay, so
alternative.
is everybody into other kinds of music though, other than the type of music y'all play?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I want to kind of know, like, do you know what weird music he's into?
hmm
What is it?
Some of the weirder stuff.
Like,
I would
what
say,
would he list? I think he wouldn't listen to. Like, does he like secretly listen to like some like gangster rap or something like that?
that's more me.
Is that you?
Yeah. Maybe Drew too.
Yeah.
Ritchie's like Aphex Twin.
I like that too.
Animal Collective is kind of a weird one that Ritchie likes. Maybe like Tom York's like solo stuff. That's maybe not like maybe it would be surprising if you heard our music and then knew that Ritchie liked that, but maybe that's not that surprising.
Jay, what's your dirty pleasure of music that you like?
So I claim to be like super into like punk music and
What do you mean you claim to be? What does that mean?
oh,
Well, he's a phone.
I am into like punk music, and then there was a long period of like hardcore music and stuff like that and heavier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I love like just the poppiest stuff.
Like
you
what?
could- Oh, I mean,
Like what, Jay?
what's that? I mean, just I'm trying. What's
like Harry Styles?
Yes, that's it. I couldn't think of the name. Like Harry Styles, like like literally like radio pop.
What do you like about Harry Styles?
It's some good shit. You know what I appreciate about it? I appreciate the songwriting of it.
Mhm.
And it might not be the most like complex music stuff, which I also have like a huge love for like more intricate music, but I think just the way pop music is constructed and how they put together, when a chorus should go, when the pre-chorus is going, and like how perfectly sculpted it is to be easy to listen to. Like that's what I appreciate about it.
Yeah, you're supposed to like it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
We actually we had like a war. I think it's two. Jesus. It's 2v2. Like Jay and I are really big fans of Harry Styles, and Brett and Drew just can't stand him.
It's over the one song.
It's only the song. I like Harry Styles as a person. I really liked him in Dunkirk,
I knew you were gonna bring up fucking Dunkirk.
but I don't.
That's like
the song.
complimenting a steakhouse about their fries.
But I just don't like. I don't like the song as it was.
Jay and I are about it.
And then there's all these remixes.
let me.
Okay, well, okay. So, but Drew, what music are you into that I wouldn't think you'd be into? What do you? You said you like rap.
I do.
What are you into rap wise?
Anything East Coast, Wu-Tang, Notorious B.I.G., Suicide Boys. I like them. They're from Louisiana though. Also big fan of.
You like Nas?
Yeah, a bit, but he's
Too
not
old?
my. Yeah,
Yeah, I
love
get
him.
it, yeah.
He is very good. My girlfriend really likes Nas. I've been getting into him
Jay-Z?
a bit. I think he's amazing. One of the greats.
Overrated?
No, it's just sometimes his rhymes make me laugh. If that makes sense.
You know, what makes
Hey,
me
when you really listen to, he's got such a great point, because when you really listen to him, they're kind of like, they're not really that great, but the emphasis on the way he raps makes it sound like badass. So he could say like macaroni, and you're like, yeah, macaroni. You
There's
know?
just like, yeah, I don't know. Some of the schemes he does, it's just like, it sounds, to me personally, just like kind of makes me chuckle. But
He's like notorious for not writing anything down. Like he just gets in there and just. spits
Well,
it out.
that's part of the problem then. I mean, let's prepare a little bit, you know?
but also, I mean, on the other spectrum, like I love like Alanis Morissette and Michelle Branch.
Oh, yeah.
Big fan of
Oh,
Michelle Branch.
Natasha Bedingfield.
Big
bro?
fan of her,
Fucking
too.
forget about it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Natasha Bedingfield. Shout out to you.
You're still working on an angle with Natasha Bedingfield.
I'm
You've
still
been doing
working
it
on
for a
it.
while.
I send her DMs every day. Am I done? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. No. So, okay. So, so your drug of choice was drinking,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Drew?
Heroin and amphetamines.
Heroin and cocaine and Xanax were my three.
Oh, Xanax too.
Heroin and crack cocaine.
Wow.
Cocaine. I mean, cocaine was the preference.
So
Really, but you can't find
but
it.
you know, okay. So, does anybody just want to speak to heroin use and the difficulties of getting off of it, in any fashion?
Sure.
Because look, I'm secretly writing this book, and it's called Moderately Good Rules for Life. All right, and one of the rules is don't do heroin.
That's a good rule.
But the reason is
Back that up,
Yeah.
so it's life changing. It's like the first time, right? Now your life is kind of different, right? And so I just want you to everyone speak to that.
Sure.
Anybody?
Yeah. I mean, the difficulties of like getting off of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to a point where you're like, I mean, money's a big factor in it, but like it depends like how much you can get, if you're just gonna get not sick, or if you're actually gonna get high. Because you use heroin, and then it got to a point for me where it was like I get high, and then there's maybe an hour window where I'll feel good, and then like a 2 to 6 hour window where I'll be kind of anxious and wanting to get high again, and then at hour 8 to 12 you start getting sick. And
that quick, huh?
by the end of it, it was getting that quick for me. And I don't know if it was psychosomatic, but at around hour 12 after using, I would start to just get super restless, anxious, cold and or hot, and then nauseous, start throwing up and stuff. And it's just this, your life basically just becomes
A cycle.
yeah, it's just it's not even about getting high anymore. It's just about not feeling that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it takes so much money to actually get high at a certain point, and you're so broke that it's harder and harder to achieve that,
Yeah.
at a
Jay?
certain point.
It's kind of amazing how
awesome it heroin is.
no, it's amazing. I was just thinking about it. And it's weird. I got like my hands got sweat. Like you were talking
Dude,
about
same.
withdrawals, and I was like, oh, I felt it for a
Less
second.
Celsius, but I am sweating.
Yeah, it might be from
So,
that.
okay, so just from kind of talking about it,
Yeah.
you start to get kind of sweaty palms and stuff like that? Like you start to kind of feel something or no?
I don't
Not
actually-
so.
No,
Not-
sorry, I thought that's what you were saying.
Not like wanting to get high.
No, but just like backflash memories?
Yeah, legitimately like the feeling of being dope sick. I just thought about it for a second, and I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, that's so gross.
the
It's
worst
it's
feeling on earth.
it's a horrible feeling. It's like what's a good way to explain it? I always say it's like the flu, but
Your mind
just
is also sick.
on steroids, and it's like,
You can't think.
I mean, you're just thinking about one thing, and
Wow.
and that was like the next point I was gonna make is like I think it's amazing, how the fuck I'll keep it on me, but like how the fuck I could come up with money every day to keep getting high,
Like
I don't-
what you would go through?
yeah, some horrible fucking stuff too. I mean, like just literally like I don't know, stealing shit or I don't know. It's amazing how the fuck I could be a junkie.
Well,
and
is it, and I would assume it's just because like you're gonna feel so bad, right? Is that
That's-
part of it too?
that's all it is. I think that's all it is. It's,
At the end?
at the end of the rope, it's like it's not even about you're just kind of on this primal instinct of not wanting to feel sick, and I think that's the that's why heroin or just opiates in general is so bad. Is like for me, there was a point where I loved the feeling of being high, right? And because it was helping me escape from life and the shit I had going on. So weird kind of, I don't know, point to make, but there was a point in my life where getting high helped me, right?
In what way?
Because it made me escape from all the mental health issues I had going on. So I have like still to this day, I mean it's better now, but like chronic depression, really that's the big one. And anxiety and stuff like that. But it was just like as a kid or like 17, 18 years old, a teenager, right? It was so bad that it just was like I couldn't do anything with my mental health in the state it was. And that's when drugs came into the picture. And at that time, it was like, holy shit, this shuts off everything. This shuts off all the problems I got going on. But then the issue is, and thank God I fucking lived through that. That's another thing to consider. It's like one bad batch of drugs and I could have been gone. You know what I mean? But you get a little older, right? And all of a sudden, maybe the mental health stuff, either I forgot about it or it subsided a little bit, it got a little better, and then you're stuck with this addiction that's way worse than the mental health stuff ever was. And at that time, it's just like, how the fuck do you stop doing this? I had no idea there's like resources out there, stuff like that to get off of it. Are you laughing at the dip pouch coming out?
What
Yeah.
happened?
No, I got a Zin in my mouth and it started to pop out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I forget what I was talking about now. So just being stuck with like a way worse addiction than the mental health stuff was. Are you still laughing at me?
I'm definitely not.
Okay, you are now. Everyone you just laugh it up. It's all right. That was the thing though, was just not knowing that there was a way out, and by the end of it, it was just fucking horrible.
Did you have anything to say?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the original question?
Just it was specifically we were kind of just talking about the difficulties of heroin, but I mean you could just speak to addiction in general if you want to.
I mean, yeah. I mean, my first rehab was for alcohol, actually. I got in some legal trouble.
Come on.
Every podcast.
You slipped on your mom's hardwood floor and hit your nose?
No, it was much worse than that. I drove into a lake.
Oh wow.
when I was 18, 6 months after getting my license, where the driving instructor was my teacher's husband, and he specifically said to me, "Don't make me regret giving you this license." And then 6 months later, I drove into the lake. And then I went to jail for like a day, and then my mom bailed me out and said, "You're going to rehab." So I went to rehab, and I got out and I started drinking again, and I was like, not getting away with it because alcohol reeks. So then I started taking a lot of pills because you can get away with them because they don't have an odor,
Right.
you know? So I started taking like a lot of Adderall, Xanax. And then after high school, I got into opiates. Specifically, I made a pretty drastic jump immediately. I just started with perks and then went to oxys like within a month. And then like a month after that, I couldn't afford the oxys, so started doing heroin and started injecting about a week in. Started it for a week and then just started injecting. First thing I injected was a pill, and then the day after I started injecting heroin. So for like those 2 months, getting high was awesome. Yeah, it felt really good. But every day the high would last less long, and the feeling of discomfort would be even worse when I wasn't high. So yeah, it just got to a point where basically everything that Brett said is just like every 12 hours. And that's why I took a lot of amphetamines through the whole thing too, was if I woke up sick, I'd take some amphetamines because I'd have all this energy to go and get the money I needed to get some heroin.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I was a little chemist, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So okay, so everyone played music before they went to rehab, right? Did everyone play in a band before they went to rehab?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
did, yeah.
Okay. Was there any level of any of y'all using drugs and alcohol and stuff like that to be able to get on stage to like, to have the confidence? Okay, so how do you do it now? So now that you're sober, how do you find that self-validation instead of covering up with booze and alcohol and drugs? Like how do you get on stage and fight, stage fright and those kinds of things?
I don't really experience it that.
I
I do at originals.
I feel like maybe I can speak for everybody with this, but I started playing guitar when I was 11. I joined my first band when I was 12. So that I was a musician like long before I was a drug addict. And so I never really struggled with that personally. I always have felt like
Excited.
yeah, and kind of at home on stage.
Jay, you?
Yeah, let me take this Zin out real quick.
Richie, you want to speak to it?
Sure.
You were asking for the mic. No.
So for me, like Jay brought up a good point, like with like the mental health piece. So like I started dealing with anxiety and depression. I don't know when it started, but anxiety was always something that kind of lingered with me at an early age. So I think like that's just always been something that's like a part of me, I guess. But I would say today, I don't know. It's an interesting relationship for me that I have with anxiety, and this has been like part of like my own recovery process because I think part of the reason I started using and drinking was to deal with the anxiety. And so then that would make it easy to, to play shows or whatever under the influence. Or at least I thought I probably sucked, in the moment I thought I was maybe doing okay. But today it's kind of like I've kind of been like working on my relationship with anxiety, and some days are like worse than others. But it's like I guess it's almost like becoming friends with it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
And starting to like almost like speak to it like it's like another entity that
Well,
lives.
it is. I mean, it is a part of you. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, I think for the longest time I used to fight it and resist it and like, be like, fuck you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And now today it's more like, okay, this is like a part of who I am. It's a piece of me. How can I like, try and strike up a relationship with it? And honestly, today too, like when we play, like I struggle with anxiety anytime we do anything. Even honestly, even before doing something like this, like my anxiety, I'm like, we're just meeting for the first time, and there's a camera in the room and all this shit. My anxiety gets,
Sure.
it gets up there. But it also becomes like, it kind of becomes like a new drug as well. Like it starts taking the place of like the old shit, where it's like, oh, this is like kind of scary, but it's also fun. It's like a new experience, and like getting to walk through that discomfort, it becomes, I don't know, it's fun. So, um, but yeah, I mean, shit, I still get stage fright all the time. That's definitely something that's real for me.
And I think it's kind of normal. Some people that kind of stuff doesn't phase them.
Yeah.
Some people have to be very aware of it and like work on it. You
Yep.
know what I mean? What's it like to play music and listen to your music sober? Like, cause he brought up a good point. He's like, man, I could have just sucked. I don't even know. But if you're sober, you should be pretty present around what you're doing. So, like, what's it like to hear your music and appreciate it sober?
I mean, for me, it's awesome. There's also, for me, I have a lot of anxiety as well. It's just like my general state of being, though. That's why I'm like, I don't feel that different when I have a lot of anxiety. It's just kind of like, this is normal. But like, I'm pretty neurotic with my own playing too. I like to like really pick myself apart. I think everybody
Yeah.
does that.
Sure.
So it can be really nice if it sounds great, but if there's any issue with it, I feel bad about
Are you a
it.
perfectionist?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so
Probably.
like okay, when you do practice when you're practicing a song, do you go the song like all the way through, or what if you mess up, will you stop and start over?
I used to stop and start over, but then everybody told me not to do that.
Yeah, but I mean is that kind of the perfectionist of you? You're like, oh man, I messed up, I got to start over.
I mean, if we're recording, yeah, I'm gonna
Oh,
start
well, yeah,
over.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Anyways, Jay,
And what's the question again?
how are you experiencing your music now that you're sober?
I think what Richie said I relate a lot to, um, which is just like, first of all, I'm a horrible critic on myself. Like, I will hear something and be like, that sucked, dude. But that's kind of this relationship I'm trying to build with myself, is to just have a little more confidence in who I am and like give myself credit where it's due and just be like, all right, yeah, no, you don't suck, man. And that's good. And that's kind of this relationship I'm building with myself, either live or recording. Um,
Well, that person that's saying you suck is the exact same person he's talking about, right? You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so, you're building, like you said, like he said, you're building a relationship with it, you know what I mean? And trying
Mhm.
to embrace that voice, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's been cool. And that's the huge trade-off of, getting high and being fucked up and like, yeah, I can't even tell you how I felt about myself because I don't remember. You know what I mean? When I was playing live or recording or playing music, I don't remember a lot of it. But now I get to remember all of it, and that's cool because I get to be present and I get to
Really experience it, right?
experience it and experience myself and kind of call myself out on my own bullshit, uh, and build as a person and as a musician, um, and kind of still even what we're 5 years into this as a band, but like I think now more than ever it's like really forming that relationship with myself as a musician, and becoming comfortable with it. So
You said calling yourself out on your bullshit.
mhm.
Is that empowering? Like, do you find that empowering to you as a person in building your self-validation and confidence?
Yeah, no, I think it's necessary, and I think that's a tool that I hadn't had like most of my life, and it's only
And
the last couple of years
maybe the
that
reason you use drugs and alcohol or whatever, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't have to listen to that negative critic. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And now I can, Rich, exactly like you said, like I can hear that, and I can be like, nah, dude, that's just like this old coping mechanism you have to, run away from your shit or to not follow through. And so I can kind of shut that voice up or just accept it and be like, that's not the truth. and get back to, doing what I actually enjoy and getting better at it. So
Yeah. How about you, man?
Yeah, when I think when I was getting high, I didn't care as much. Like I almost embraced I think I always thought I was playing really well.
Sure.
There's actually one instance where we played this house party. It was an old band I was in Michigan, and I was like sneaking off and shooting dope in the bathroom the whole time and all that. And we were playing at the house party, and I had actually nodded off on stage at one point.
No way.
Yeah, while playing guitar, like standing up. I was just like, and then I would like come to and then be like in the song, and I was like, oh shit. And in my memory of it was like, I fucking killed that shit, dude. And I did not. I was actually not playing at certain points, because but yeah, and getting sober, like I don't know. I think I take like getting better a lot more seriously and being consistent with my playing a lot more seriously, and to speak on what these guys have basically already said, like I can be really hard on myself too, especially if I fuck up in a solo or in our original set in general. But yeah, that I think now the way I look at it now is like, okay, if I work hard enough when we're not playing, in practice or whatever, I should be good to go for the time that we actually do play. And then if I happen to fuck up, the reframe is like, well, you didn't work hard enough when we weren't playing, so do better next time.
Well, you prepare, then you don't have to worry. I mean, you have
That's
a
right.
plan, then you're good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a level of like that y'all had to learn a way to give yourself like grace, just give yourself like not a pass, but forgiveness? So like, anybody want to speak to like how you accomplished that for yourself?
In regards of
Just like, like he was talking about like, or I think Drew was talking about like, I used to kind of would start over, and then I realized, I just got to play it all the way through and not be so hard on myself. Or if you mess up, you're like, I can't be hard on myself. Like giving yourself that grace of like, hey, these are all human kind of things that everybody goes through. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, and I think like the moment's gone. If you fucked up, it's already over. You know what I mean? And dwelling on that point in time that's already passed,
it could fuck up the future.
That's all it's gonna do.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just letting it go and actually being in the moment rather than being in that point in time where you fucked up is so much more powerful. I think, I mean, that can derail. It not only will derail you, but it'll derail everybody else too.
Yeah.
It bleeds into everybody else's playing when you're constantly just being like, you fucking dumbass.
Well, side note, we are a codependent band on stage too.
What does that
Like
mean?
I will, if someone messes up or like, almost guarantee that I might mess up immediately after, just because I don't know why. I just think we're pretty locked into each
Well, I
other.
think it speaks to y'all's connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I think a great point that you brought up is that like, if you kind of mess up, I mean, ultimately it's your responsibility to get back on. But if you start like thinking about the mess up, now the potential for these other guys to mess up happens, you know what I mean? And by you just taking care of that, it helps the whole harmony of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say this, like I struggle with, like, I'm a wicked perfectionist, like neurotic to points, and so like perfectionism, control, expectations of myself, of what's happening around me, like those are things I struggle with, and I think like over the last couple years, you're talking about the grace piece, and Brett was just talking about like presence, and that comes up for me a lot in my life today, and in so many different areas, in music, just with honestly, just with life in general. Like I want to be more present for my life and for my friends and for my family, and just like living in the past or tripping about what's going to happen tomorrow or in the next 10 minutes, it doesn't really serve me anymore, you know? And so even like when we're playing, like, you know, I'll go through this like mental chess game of like where I'll be all up in my head of like, you know, just questioning myself, or like that voice of like doubt comes up, the insecurity. And then I kind of like get to this point where I'm like, dude, we're playing music, we're expressing ourselves. Like fuck it. Like let's have fun. Let's connect as people, as musicians, and just, you know, fucking, you know, play the shit out of whatever we're playing. And that's not always the easiest place to get to, but that's like, for me, that's the ideal. Like, it's just remembering that, like, I just want to be myself, and I want to be myself with my brothers on stage, and just express myself, you know, and not worry so much about like the, you know, the real nitty gritty of like what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there a certain level of like when y'all are all in sync on stage and all playing together and everything's just like jamming, of getting high, like you kind of feel an energy and like, I don't want to say it replaces your addiction, but like it's that same kind of connection to something. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
Everybody, yeah, same
You
thing.
could say it replaces the addiction too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it fills that need of, yeah, whatever that, you know, because there's those positive versions of
Addiction.
of getting what you need and feeling, you know, whole, and that's it for me. Is like, if we're firing off at a show, it's going really well, and or just whatever. I mean, it doesn't even have to be best case scenario, but just being up on stage and um yeah, getting that high from whatever that is, what all the energy that's going on in the room, you know.
Yeah.
This last segment is brought to you by HeyJustBe.com. I believe that achieving balance in the mental, physical, and metaphysical aspects of your purpose by incorporating learning, serving, and creating can transform your life into one that you truly enjoy living. Want to know more? Go to www.heyjustbe.com.
All right, so how I usually wrap this thing up is I ask people, what do you do to just be, and in y'all's case, it's like just be sober, but to just be the best version of yourself so you can be good for everybody else. And I asked y'all to do a very specific thing for me. I asked y'all to kind of speak to the things that you do that help you stay sober. So whoever wants to go first.
I can knock it out.
He's like, I'm just, it's like, he's like, look, I just want to get mine out of the way and I'm done.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna be the weirdest one probably. Because
I mean, you know, there's got to be somebody else out there that does what?
I mean, I like to learn, so I read a lot about past events that have transpired, especially.
History.
Yes, that's history.
Okay, give me some history things that I would like, weird history facts I wouldn't know.
Did you know that the Appalachian Mountains used to be connected to Scotland?
No.
Yeah. Pangea.
Dang.
Yeah.
Pangea
And
didn't really
actually, the Scottish immigrants that came to America all settled in the Appalachian Mountains because it reminded them of the Scottish Highlands.
Oh.
Damn.
Thank you.
Damn.
Thank you.
Boy's a fucking genius.
I also love to play video games.
What do you play?
A lot of first-person shooters, but right now I'm really into a game called Ghost of Tsushima.
And what do you do?
You're fighting for your honor against the Mongol invasion.
Nice. What first-person shooters you play?
A lot of Call of Duty.
Yeah. Where can people find you online?
My name on Call of Duty is Bone Storm.
What's your, I don't know anything about Call of Duty, by the way. What's your ranking?
I think I'm like, I don't know,
Like second, top 1%.
top like, 0.11. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know my ranking at all.
Like 13-year-olds taking you out.
Oh, no, and they're really mean about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
hey,
the best.
They're like, hey, old man,
Yeah,
try to stay sober.
and definitely, I mean, like, having good friendships is probably the most important thing for me. Because, like, if I was hanging out with a bunch of people that were doing heroin,
You're probably going to be doing heroin.
I'm probably gonna end up doing heroin.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. So you gotta have your people, your tribe, perhaps.
Ritchie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like probably 2-3 things. I'll be really brief about it. But yeah, to Drew's point, community. yeah, having connection again in my life, that's honestly the biggest thing for me. And getting to have it with these guys is like super incredible, because not only do we get along as people and understand each other's people, but then we get to create with one another. And I think that's the other really, really big piece for me is because like prior to getting sober, like I think the most haunting feeling I dealt with was like this emptiness of purpose. There was no sense of like what, like I constantly asked myself every day in my addiction, like what am I doing with my life? And the answer was nothing. You know, I was just kind of existing. And so today, to get to have connection and then to get to create and perform and actually just build something with a family is like one of the coolest feelings. It's that sense of, you know, purpose and continuing to like create together. It's exciting.
That's a good one.
So
Hang on real quick.
yeah.
You remember earlier when you were talking about like that you locked yourself up in your home and
Yep.
you had sober people you reach out to, but basically in a nutshell you're like, I'm not hanging out with those nerds. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah, exactly.
how did you get over that? How did you get over like that these people aren't nerds. These are people that I need and that they're doing what they want to do in a good way and I need to be part of that. How did you get past that?
Initially, it was just straight up desperation.
Was that
'Cause
hard for you?
yeah, 100%. Because I was like in this spot where it was the first time in my life I was starting to like experience suicidal ideation, you know, and thinking about just disappearing off the planet. So like it was like a really, really intense spot to be. But I'm actually really grateful for that spot because it pushed me to make a change. And then once I initially got over that hump and, you know, moved past like the initial desperation, you know, I met these guys and like honestly, these are my favorite people in the world right next to me, you know, like just in all the ways, like in all the ways. These guys are particularly fucking hilarious. So like for me, I need that in my life. And anyway, my point is that like it started becoming way more attractive. All of a sudden I was like, oh shit, these guys play music. They're idiots. We do idiot things together. Like this shit's actually pretty fun. And then it became less of like this thing of like, I have to do this to like, oh shit, I get to do this with these cool ass dudes, you know? And I don't know. So it's like fun today. Like it's kind of weird to say, but like yeah, like I really do enjoy my life today, and I'm like I feel blessed to be sober and to get to do this shit with these guys. To get to do a podcast like this with you, you know?
Thank you.
This is cool.
Who's the funniest?
Uh Drew's pretty hilarious. Drew's he's
Me
pretty
and-
wild.
me and Brett.
I mean, literally, when y'all said Drew's the funniest, his face was kind of like, nah, I don't think so.
I can support that. I was actually thinking of the argument you could make for Drew being the funniest.
Honestly, for me, all three of these guys are extremely funny in their own
I just wanna
ways.
touch on the funniness part. I think we're all funny in our different ways, if that makes sense. Jay is like the epitome of awkward funny. Brett is the epitome of like comedian funny, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I give the appearance of a very stupid man.
But you know history. But you know history.
Drew can dance, dude.
But I can dance too.
Oh.
He can dance. He can do slam poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, can he do slam poetry?
And when he puts those two together,
Oh my god.
It's like a triple threat.
something
Yeah.
magical.
A
Yeah.
portal opens.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
Jay.
What are my things to?
Yeah, like what do you do to help you stay sober? What are the things you do to help you stay sober? I mean, everybody makes music that helps you stay sober, right?
Yeah,
Like so. I mean, like
100%.
yeah, 100%. But like
That's
so,
one of them. Yeah,
do yoga.
I don't do yoga.
You didn't look like a yoga guy to me.
Not since the accident.
no, you like to drive.
He
You
used
like
to be
nature.
Very flexible.
Nature.
I do. I guess I like
Camping?
nature. Not camping.
No.
I
He
like
drives
going.
around.
I like driving to random towns in Texas or further, and just getting lost and like seeing where I end up.
I
and
think that's
finding cool
amazing.
spots. Yeah, it's my.
So what's your favorite town that you've discovered?
Ooh, that's a good That's a good question. Right now I'm in like the LaGrange Giddings area,
Mhm.
and I've been enjoying that.
Mhm.
So I go out there and I find like I look for old instruments. That's what I like to do. So like
There's a lot out
guitars.
there, I bet, huh?
Yeah, and you find cool shit. Um so I just pick these like pockets, these areas, and I'll like for a month at a time, like every weekend, or if I have like a day during the week, I'll just go get lost and uh get on like Facebook Marketplace or like Craigslist, or just go into these shops and
I'm
stuff.
outside your house.
Yeah, like straight up, dude. Straight up, I will look for treasures, and I will see
What's the
what I
coolest
could
thing
do.
you found?
I found 2 days ago. I found this vintage '70s bass head amp.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
Sun. I
Ooh,
think
yeah,
I did.
that's sick.
I think I did good on it. I
Nice.
bought it for $30.
I
and
know
afford
nothing
it.
about this. It sounds like a steal.
It is.
I did good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay is like he's giving like American pickers a run for their money.
Yeah.
You know.
That's my new favorite thing to do. That's like my freedom away from all of
That's your
this,
hobby?
too. Yeah, that's my newest hobby, I guess. I've been
I
doing
think
it
it's
for a little
amazing.
while.
I mean, when you talk about like replacing addiction and things and how you engage
Mhm.
in life, like doing stuff like that you enjoy, even if it's like odd or, whatever it is,
Mhm. Yeah. So that's one, and then like just the more fundamental like core things that are I need to do to make sure I don't get into this weird dark place is like just stay around people, so don't isolate, and if I have that shit that's like I don't want to tell anyone, or I want to like keep it to myself, like just making sure that I'm honest and like air out the stuff that's keeping me sick or like making me feel a certain type of way. Like I just gotta talk about my stuff. That's been my crucial thing, that I know as long as I'm honest with someone and I have people in my life like that, um, that I can talk to them and get real, and that usually does the trick.
Is that these guys?
Yeah, they
Are
are.
they kind of like, I mean, is everybody
3 of
kind of a
them.
therapist for everybody? Everybody kind of help everybody or no?
No, I don't think so. I think, and I mean that in a good
No,
way.
no, no. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, just curious.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that might
yes,
not be a good thing for the band. You know what I mean?
It-
Like,
we-
he tells you some horrible problem. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, that might not be a good energy to bring in,
we can all lean on each other for that. Like there's been so many times in conversations. Usually there's always someone that needs that extra support, needs to be pulled up, and we've done that for each other over the last 5 years so many times. But I think all of us too definitely have a bunch of people outside of the band that we can lean on for support too.
What about you, Brett?
I think this kind of plays into what everybody else has said, more or less, but I guess like a piece of I don't know, a big thing for me is just doing what I love to do.
Stand up.
Yeah, stand up. No, I actually, dude, that has crossed my mind trying to do stand up for many years. It's the most terrifying thing I could possibly imagine. But
You watch Detroit Lions football?
that's also terrifying. But yeah, I will be watching the Lions this Christmas.
Yeah.
Hopefully defeat the Minnesota Vikings. But no, like for me personally, there was nothing more like energy draining and just life sucking than like working at a job I hated to work, you know. We had this, we still do, but we have this thing called level up season where we get to a point in our lives where we're kind of stagnating a little bit, and it's like it's time to level up. What are we going to do to improve our stance on life right
As a
now?
band or as an individuals?
Both, honestly. I mean, I think it's usually something that gets said to one another, where it's like, dude, it's level up season. You know, we've been doing this for. It is sort of a bit, but it works its way into reality. But yeah, like if I could give a piece of advice to somebody, it's like, don't settle for something that you don't feel happy with. You know what I mean? Like keep pushing until you're like, okay, this makes me feel good. It makes me feel actualized. you know.
Validated.
Yeah. Cause yeah, again, like I had people my whole life too that I would always be like, I'm playing music. That's what I'm doing. They're like, well, you better have a backup plan, cause.
That's the worst, dude.
And I was literally like, I remember being like 16 years old and telling adults in my life, like, there is no backup plan. That's it. That's what I'm doing, you know?
Were any of y'all's parents supportive of your music career?
Yeah, my dad has always been so supportive.
My parents were.
Yeah,
100%.
Jay.
Yeah, actually. They were super-
I just think that's great because, like, when I told my parents that, like, I was like, I want to be a stand-up comedian, they were like, that's not a job. You know what I mean? And so I listened to my parents so much, I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to school and get a regular degree and get a regular job. And so I think a lot of artists get pushed down by their parents because their parents don't want them to fail. So
Mm.
it's so amazing that y'all had parents that are supportive of your art. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, yeah, no. Both my parents were always really supportive, and yeah. I I remember my grandpa one time, who's from a very like old school state of mind. It's like I used to work carpentry with a guy up in Michigan, and I remember him saying to me like, "It's great that you're learning a trade, you know, because like it's always good to be safe and have something to fall back on." And I love my grandpa more than fucking anybody, but I just remember in my head being like, "Nah, I'm not, I'm not doing that," you know. So I think the best backup plan is to not have a backup plan,
Well,
as far as that
if you're
goes.
doing what you really want to do or you really love, you don't really need a backup plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think so often we either don't believe in ourselves or other people get us not to believe in ourselves, that external like non-validation of us. And so we go, okay, well, I guess I'm going to be a lawyer, or I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to work here or whatever. And we just don't follow our passion or our purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's crucial to I think to any human being is like to have be striving for self-actualization.
Yeah, I don't know. I love this conversation in particular. I wanted to ask, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, well, you said before we started taping this today that like you just bypassed 70 shows, and you're like on 90 or something.
Yeah,
And
so like I've put out at this point I've put out about 66 and I've recorded almost 90. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I wanted to ask, I guess I'm just curious, what what keeps like you going to keep doing this like after that threshold?
So I set my initial goal at 100. Every fancy book you read, or when you talk about like accomplishing something, mastering something,
Yeah.
the rule of 10,000 hours, kind of that kind of stuff or whatever. And so I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and just set this initial goal. And my experience so far is that it's been part of my growth as a person. But the bigger part of it is my partner, my girlfriend, is a musician, right? She's an amazing piano player. She doesn't play the piano as much as I would love her to. She actually struggles with a lot of the same things y'all guys like talk about, right? And I realized that, as parents, we want to protect our kids, and make sure that they're okay, and we don't want them to have false dreams and stuff like that. And so now we have a daughter together, and she's 3, right? And I want to set the example that you can do whatever you want to do, and if you put in the work, you will be successful. It's just the work. That's all you have to do is just put in the work. And also, every time, like, I love stories, like, especially when you said all y'all's parents are supportive of doing music. You see some really great act, whether it's, Billie Eilish or whoever else it is, and they always talk about how supportive their parents were and how they set this example. My dad's a better guitarist than I could ever be, because they set the example of it's a possibility. And so, when I think of going past 100, it comes down to, now could I build something that I could just give away to my daughter? Could I build something that she could take and she could grow into it? because the world's going in the world of the internet. It's hard to escape, right? And if I could build something that and learn how to navigate the internet so nothing happens to her, but it's like, could I build something and give it away to her? Because that's like, kind of, and when you make music, you're building and making a song to give it away,
Sure.
right, for interpretation and feelings and stuff like that. So why couldn't I do that and build something for her to continue on, or to just know who her dad was, or to have the example that she can do anything? That's really what it is.
I love it, man. I especially love what you just said about like role modeling for your daughter, like anything is possible. And I don't know, I think that's kind of like what Brett was talking about. Um I just want to I kind of forgot the initial
I think you
what
answered it,
what
didn't
brought us into this area, but like just it is like the just keeping on going piece. I feel like for me, there's always been so much insecurity around taking a chance on something like music, because it's our own thing. It's like we're not working for someone else, or someone else isn't like telling us like what exactly to do. Like we're kind of accountable to ourselves in a lot of ways, and that's scary in a lot of ways. But it is like the just keeping pushing forward, even on those days when you're feeling like where is this all going, or like questioning myself.
Well, the funny part about it is, so like in my personal coaching, I basically say there's like three tenets. There's your mental, your physical, and your metaphysical, right? But it was so beautiful. What I feel like that makes those stable is the actions you put around them.
Yep.
So it's learning, serving, creating. And so when I asked Drew, I was like, hey, he was like, I learned. I was like, oh man, so because that helps, right? Making music is creating. Serving is the music you give away and the people that take it in, and the other opportunities you have. So, y'all just embody everything that I coach for people to move their life forward. You know what I mean? It is the action that you take inside your own life. It's what you put into it and the intentions you put around what you're doing, being present so you can receive that stuff, So, okay, so
Oh, yeah.
one more thing before we get out of here. Okay. Do you listen to Radiohead?
I do.
Do you listen to Radiohead?
I do.
Do you listen to Radiohead?
Only a little bit now because of these two.
Do you listen to Radiohead?
Because of these two, mainly because of Ritchie. Yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to tell me what's going on, like why I should be listening to Radiohead? Like, because typically musicians love Radiohead. I've already had this conversation with Matt, but and my girlfriend loves Radiohead, and all the bands I know the members of the band she's in, they love Radiohead.
Yeah.
So why should I? What am I missing about Radiohead?
That's what a hell of a question. I mean, I think the coolest thing about a band like Radiohead, and I totally understand why some people may not be into it, like totally get it. But I think the coolest thing about them is like what I've seen as a fan, because I've been a fan my whole life, like the progression from record to record is they keep doing things that, at least for me, I've never really heard before, or the way that they're executing things are like just on a level that I've never really heard before. So I like really consider them to be pioneers, and that's a part of music that I think is fascinating. Are artists that are like pushing boundaries and pushing into like a new area of music that maybe we as humans have never really experienced before. So
Are you cool with like every album's different? Like they don't have really a style or
I love it. That's like the
Do
that's
you,
the
do you have
exciting
albums
thing for
you
me.
just don't like?
By Radiohead?
Yeah.
Honestly, like maybe like the really early stuff, the very, very early stuff, I'm like kind of whatever on. But no, every other record of Radiohead's, I'm always like, cool. What's even gonna happen? I've like never know what to expect, and that becomes kind of exciting, just the unknown of it all, and seeing what new techniques they're gonna use.
True.
Yeah, I mean everything he just said is pretty. I mean, yeah, they're pioneers. Tom York, amazing lyricist. Johnny Greenwood is one of my idols. He does very interesting things on the guitar. But for me, what they really do is, with their great lyrics and these interesting ways of writing a song and incorporating different sounds into it, it's also feels very cinematic to me, and I love
The music feels cinematic.
yeah, and I love movies, and even their music videos are like
Little mini
just
movies.
incredible. So yeah, to me they're just like they're the perfect ideal to strive to be.
How are y'all feeling being new fans of Radiohead? Just before we get out of here, do you feel pressure to like them?
No,
Good.
no. I appreciate them.
You're-
I think
you're
I'm
like,
more.
yeah, I like Radiohead. That's cool.
I'm more of a fan of Tom York than Radiohead. I appreciate that guy and like his art. I don't even know. Yeah, I think he does like what was it you showed me? Like the shorts he does, like those short movies or.
Yeah, there's like a short on Netflix called Anima.
Dude, I love that so much.
I'm putting that on my mental list. I'm gonna check that out.
But yeah, as a musician, and I respect them, and they do what they want to do, and I think that's what I respect about them is like they're not pandering to anyone. They are just like, this is our art, this is what we're feeling, and we're gonna make it. And it turns out that people like it. You know.
You have anything to add before we go, Brett?
I completely agree with Jay. I had listened to Pablo and Honey, right? Pablo Honey.
That's awesome.
Pablo and Honey.
Yeah.
That's why I'm naming my next two dogs.
That one, there you go. I listened to that record like a long time ago. I like illegally. Well, I allegedly torrented it. Probably in like 2011 or something like that. Hadn't really listened to Radiohead that much, other than like their super popular songs. And then Ritchie showed me OK Computer,
Which is my favorite.
in 2018 or something like that. And yeah, you just hear them. You hear them particularly use chord progressions that you don't hear very often outside of like classical music or something like that. And that's super, super interesting. And there's maybe cadences they use between chords and things like that I think, mainly getting to know Ritchie better as a musician, have become a lot more natural sounding to my ear. So like, I don't know, even being in a band with somebody who likes Radiohead so much has made...
You don't have a choice.
Well, it's made my palate expand.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice, but no, it's like it's expanded my range of what my ear wants to hear.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, guys, I appreciate this so much. Thank you so much. Now, I usually ask people to give me a hug, and I don't know if anybody's weird with touching other people, but if you want to do one giant group hug,
I'll give you a kiss.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take any love. I'll just stand here if anybody wants to get in on this giant hug, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Y'all are awesome.
Likewise, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you
Awesome.
for having us.
Awesome.
Here's a piece of.
Are we doing dancing?
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa.
That was a new move at the end.
Damn.
Oh, it's great
He's
up
like,
guys.
he's been working on it, like underline.
That's really good.
I mean, that's